Hi guys, so today I'm going to be talking to you about the Milagro Beanfield War and Zoot the musical. I'm going to be going over some of their political agendas, social concerns, and artistic elements, which both have plenty of. So to start, obviously when you're watching Zoot riots, the main social concern that comes up is racism. It had nothing to do with the clothing and everything to do with the race. It had started out as a political agenda, and that many were saying this was a result of the Zooters not partaking in the war. They were wearing these loud, flashy bits of clothing in a time when people were fighting and rationing. Now, where that point kind of just drops off and doesn't become relevant anymore is when the sailors and other rioters decided that they were going to move into the barrios, which we know is where only Hispanics, mostly Mexican Americans, were living. So that turned it into a race issue. And the Zoot riots did a really good job of showing that. Another one of the subjects really shown in that was the artistic value that it took, not only because it was a musical, but they did decide to incorporate a lot of jazz, which, as we learned in the class, was one of the main contributing factors, and it really influenced that subculture. And what better way to show that than a musical? Some of the artistic elements from Milagro Beanfield War definitely all have to do with symbolism. One of the main symbols I felt was the guardian angel, who I guess was kind of a mystery. We never really learned too much about him, but to me he represented the reignition of the people of Milagro. He was their guardian angel, and he kind of was the one who set into motion, making it seem like it wasn't just about the bean field, there was more at stake here. Which leads to the next symbol, which would be the bean field itself. I don't think it was meant to be just about that bean field. I feel that that bean field represented the livelihood and the hope of the townspeople of Milagro. When it's not being irrigated, obviously it dies. The investors didn't allow for that bean field to be regulated, and they were basically pushing the people out. So I felt that that was a pretty obvious symbol there. One of its political agendas clearly is anti-capitalism. It's big money coming into a small town with all these great ideas, and they're completely disregarding what any of the people who have been there from the very beginning even feel about it. These people were led to believe that their town was being made better, being made more prosperous, but as we saw, they were beginning to see that it wasn't going to be better for them specifically. When they gathered in the town, the meeting, they realized, oh wait, we're going to be pushed out basically. The land is its value is going to skyrocket. We can't pay the rents. We can't water what we live off of. And obviously they were going to have to pay taxes for a bunch of things that they basically weren't going to even be able to afford to use. So obviously that is screaming anti-capitalism. It's no good for the people, and the people was the main social concern of that film. If they let this man come in and start building his huge hotels and doing everything that he wanted to do, it was basically going to displace the farmers and all the Hispanic workers of that area. Going back to a social concern for the Zoot riots, I feel that it also had a lot to do with the subculture of the Pachuco, obviously because they wore those Zoot suits. But as we can see through that whole musical, it was specifically about the type of person that these younger people were starting to become. It was like a huge cultural gap. there was these Mexican Americans mainly who were wearing zoot suits, listening to jazz, which was completely offbeat and big and loud, and that was so against what their parents wanted, and so against what a huge majority of Americans wanted at the time, because it was a time of war. You were supposed to be quite subdued. And the Zoot Suiters were obviously anything but that, along with the rest of the jazz subculture. So those are my syntheses, I guess you could say, of the two films. And hope you liked it. Bye.